In addition to that, Del Grasso also points to this dramatic home video from March 13th. Remember these pictures? These pictures were shot, show what many believe to be some kind of strange lights hovering over downtown Phoenix. The military guessed that it was a flare test, but others call it the most dramatic UFO sighting in years.
They say the craft was moving very slowly and without any sound at all. The people that saw that believe what they saw was an alien spacecraft. Now Governor Symington himself has launched an official investigation. It is 8:15, the night of March 13th, 1997, and suddenly, over the skies of Polden, Arizona, what is described as a giant, brightly lit boomerang soars through the air, slowly and silently. Just 15 minutes later, that same UFO is spotted by thousands of people over the Phoenix area. People report seeing it, pilots report seeing it in the air, yet military radar screens pick up nothing. Now, in an unprecedented move, Governor Fife Symington is determined to find out what those lights are all about.
The video that I saw a quick glimpse of was intriguing, so I'm going to order a full investigation of this through DPS. We're going to make all the necessary inquiries, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to find out if it was a UFO.
That's right. Now, the governor is holding a press conference at this very moment. In fact, at the state capitol, reportedly, he says that the DPS has already turned up startling new information about this case. We'll have that for you later on in the evening.
All right. Thank you, Bill Spencer, reporting live. Now, this is not the first time a public official has asked for an investigation into the lights. Phoenix City Council member Francis Emma Barwood asked the mayor to launch an investigation, but that never happened.
You're watching KNXV TV Phoenix. News 15 at 10 starts now.
A member of the Air National Guard says they were flares dropped during a training mission. But as News 15's Nina Jimenez explains now live from Squaw Peak, some UFO experts say the new theory can't explain all of the sightings. Right, Nina?
Paul, it certainly does not. Now, the Air National Guard out of Maryland is saying that this is only a possibility, perhaps a possibility of what some of those lights people saw were. Now, those who are researching the lights phenomenon, who are researching UFOs, say what took place here was far different than what the Air National Guard says took place. This happened over a period of hours, and it took place all over the state.
Okay, just count to 10 for Bobby. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Chuck and Carla Reardon are two of dozens of Arizonans being interviewed for an upcoming Discovery Channel special devoted to the Phoenix Lights phenomenon. The couple shot video from their backyard the night of March 13th.
We had no idea what it was. We were just real curious.
Yeah, I mean, it was huge across, and they were bright lights suspended in the air.
But the Air National Guard out of Maryland is just now reporting they dropped flares southwest of Phoenix on that night, though the Reardons don't believe that's what they saw.
Video doesn't do it justice. It was huge from our vantage point, at least across.
We use a computer analysis system to study the fingerprints of the lights.
Jim De La Tosa of Village Labs in Tempe, a nationally recognized UFO research center, also dismisses military flares as being the answer.
It doesn't explain all of the events that happened that night. And that was a great distance away from the location where the lights came to rest that everyone videotaped.
De La Tosa's partner Michael Tanner calls the Phoenix Lights phenomenon a benchmark in UFO studies.
We had everything from large V-shaped craft to large triangles to orbs of light, different colors, different shapes, moving at great speeds, still hovering. All kinds of things went on in a very short period of time.
Now, those lights were seen at 10 different areas across the state. Now, over 300 sightings were recorded. Now, I'm up here at Squaw Peak. I haven't noticed anything unusual up in the sky tonight, but some people are still recording sightings of some unusual lights as recently as just a few days ago.
Okay. Nina, thanks very much for that report. The Discovery Channel will air their hour-long special called Phoenix UFO, The Anatomy of a Sighting, sometime in October.
Still a mystery.
It sure is.
Well, do you remember this? It was 1 year ago tomorrow that people across the valley saw something they just couldn't explain.
And our phone lines lit up. Mysterious lights up in the sky. What were they? The theories ran wild. Everything from flares used by the National Guard to UFOs. As News 15's Sean Lay reports, those lights still have people talking tonight.
It was just so bright. I saw 5 bright luminous objects and a straight line heading south.
Most everyone remembers that strange night.
Yeah, 8:30 that night on March the 13th, 1997.
Cactus 522, turn 10 degrees left.
Some pilot must have seen something.
And Alan Morey will never forget what he saw.
Still at this point, we're not sure if they were aircraft or what they were. It's still an unknown.
Morey, along with many others, are still puzzled by this scene. Strange lights hovering, cruising, teasing the valley. A year later, there is still no official explanation satisfying spotters.
Absolutely.
But Morey's group, Mutual UFO Network, at least knows this. The lights, they say, were not flares, reported earlier that night.
That situation and the 10 o'clock situation are two separate situations. They're not linked together at all.
Videotape like this has been analyzed over and over again, and it's still baffling a year later.
I don't know. There's not enough evidence to make an opinion, so I really can't do that.
UFO means underestimated female official.
Former Phoenix Councilwoman Frances Emma Barwood says one thing is for sure about March 13th, 1997, it has changed her life.
What's interesting, particularly about March 13th, is 98% of the people that I've talked to describe the same thing.
Barwood has made the strange lights part of her campaign for Secretary of State.
Why isn't anybody else curious? I mean, why am I the only elected official that wanted to find out about it? Alamogordo, New Mexico, from Boise, Idaho.
She now gets stacks of mail from across the country detailing similar sightings.
There's no doubt in my mind that they saw something really phenomenal. Maybe about that much.
Barwood doesn't know if we'll ever find out what this was, but she'll keep asking questions and keep looking skyward.
I look up in the sky a lot more now than I ever did. And I have to admit, I never did before. But
And Sean Lay, News 15.
As you might expect, many people we talked to tonight say they'll be back out there tomorrow night on that one-year anniversary to see if there's a repeat performance. You know, if there is, I'm going to bet we show it to you right here on News 15.
And we'll both go outside, check it out, and compare notes.
There you go.
Who could forget? Exactly a year ago tonight, our phones were lit up in the newsroom with reports of mysterious lights hovering over the valley.
And there have been many explanations of the event, now known as the Phoenix Lights. But for many, what those lights were remain a mystery. As Troy Hayden tells us first on Fox, it wasn't the only time people have witnessed that kind of phenomena.
What in the hell is that? That's what a lot of people have been asking over the past year since those now famous mystery lights first appeared over the valley. But these lights, which actually show a V formation that's moving, were shot by an Arizona couple almost 5 years ago. And these lights, also in an apparent V formation, were taped during a concert in Israel. Both tapes were brought to UFO buff Michael Tanner after worldwide publicity surrounded the mysterious Phoenix Lights of a year ago.
It's been really hectic at times, very time-consuming to deal with all of the interest because it's come literally from all over the world.
Let's take a closer look at that tape from 5 years ago. It was shot just north of the valley, just off of I-17. Now you can tell the formation is moving by looking at the dim star in the left part of your screen. It's now circled. The V passes right over it, but you never lose sight of the star. Skyfox pilot Rick Crabb says that suggests multiple aircraft like military jets flying in a formation. Also, you can see a strobe light at the back of the V, a strobe light just like you'd see on any normal plane.
I don't hear anything, do you?
No, I don't hear anything. But a big question, why couldn't the couple hear the jets on an otherwise quiet desert night? Then there's this. A woman in New York State sent Tanner a series of drawings describing what she saw just days after those mysterious Vs were spotted in Phoenix.
Across the board, these people were everyday citizens, just curious, if not overwhelmed by what they saw, and wanted to know what it was.
Unfortunately, at this point, those are questions that remain unanswered. Troy Hayden, Fox 10 News.
But remember, the Maryland National Guard has claimed they were responsible for the Phoenix Lights. They say they were dropping flares from A-10 jets during a military exercise.
To look into the strange lights over Phoenix is now asking for your vote. Republican Frances Emma Barwood, a former Phoenix council member, announced today that she is running for Secretary of State. That's the position next in line to the governor. One of Barwood's campaign issues is looking into what's behind this strange formation of lights that was spotted over Phoenix last March. The state never investigated. Barwood says that's just an example of the government not being open with the people.
The whole way that everything was handled just showed me that there is definitely a problem here. So I guess my biggest thing on my platform would be that I want to see total openness.
Barwood is running against this woman. Barwood is actually running against the current Secretary of State, Betsy Bayless. She took over when Jane D. Hull was appointed governor.
A scientific probing look up close at those strange Phoenix lights. One man says there's a message inside. Stay with us.
I'm sure you've certainly heard about them.
Yeah, everybody's heard about them, but not the way you're going to see those lights tonight. In this edition of the 10 Files, we introduce you to a man who says each one of those lights may be trying to tell us something. This is a first on television. You're looking at a scientific analysis on an individual light that was spotted over the Phoenix skies last March. By now, you're no doubt familiar with the V-shaped or the straight line light seen from a distance. But this is something very different.
Each light has a repeating pattern, and it's different in each light.
Jim Delatoso is a UFO buff and special effects designer who worked on the smash movie Titanic. He decided to use his high-tech gear to freeze and break down individual lights that were captured on home video last year. And this is what he saw. A circular, almost screw-like pattern that repeats every 2 seconds.
And we find this pattern that moves from top to bottom and bottom to top, almost like barcode.
Now, a lot of people, including other UFO experts, think the lights were nothing more than military flares.
We have now decided that the Air National Guard was correct when they said just before 10 o'clock they shot off target flares for their pilots to intercept.
But look closely. This is footage of a flare over the Goldwater test range.
As you can see them flaming and on fire and moving.
And this, again, is a close-up of one of several lights seen last March over the skies of Phoenix. Well, what does it mean? Right now, nobody knows for sure.
I just know that I've never seen something like that before in an airplane light, in a star, in a city light, and certainly not in a flare.
You know, it seems hard to believe, but in 5 days, it will be a full year since those lights were spotted over the Phoenix skies. And still, right now, no solid explanation on what they were.
It's been the talk of the valley the past few days, those mysterious lights that hovered above the northeast sky on Thursday night. Well, what were they? UFO? Just an aircraft?
Clive Symington is now a businessman. He was the Republican governor of Arizona for 6 years, elected when the first George Bush was president. Now, a decade after leaving the State House, he takes me to a Phoenix park and discloses something unlike anything uttered by any other high-level U.S. politician.
If you had been here 10 years ago and standing out here and looking up there at the lights and the view, you would have been astounded. You would have been amazed.
Governor Symington is referring to what is now known as the Phoenix Lights, an object videotaped by many and seen by thousands over several nights in the Arizona sky in 1997.
It was a giant V, all right? And the right side of the V went over us. The left side was like a couple blocks over it.
I just didn't know what to do. You know, it was just like, my God, how big is this thing?
The great state of Arizona, Clive Symington.
The former governor, a Vietnam Air Force veteran, had never publicly acknowledged seeing it until now.
And I suspect that unless the Defense Department proves us otherwise, that it was probably some form of an alien spacecraft.
So why didn't he say anything then? Partly, he says, because he didn't want people to panic.
I think as a public figure, you have to be very careful about what you say, because people can have pretty emotional reactions, and I said my goal wasn't to try to stir the pot.
And he went to humorous and controversial lengths not to stir the pot. He held a news conference after the Phoenix Lights to announce the mystery had been solved.
And now I'll ask Officer Stein and his colleagues to escort the accused into the room so that we may all look upon the guilty party. Don't get him too close to me, please.
In the alien costume, the governor's chief of staff.
This just goes to show that you guys are entirely too serious.
UFO enthusiasts were not amused, especially since the governor was believed to have seen nothing. But now he's coming out.
The lights were really brilliant, and it was just fascinating. I mean, it was enormous. It just felt otherworldly. in your gut you could just tell it was otherworldly.